My name's Bill Walker. I'm trying the hardest I can just to be a human being.
I'm Dr. Michael Pierce. I'm an art historian and writer. Bill Walker here is the painter of the famous cover of the Grateful Dead album, The Anthem of the Sun. It's an important piece of art history, and that's why we're talking to him today.
I met TC while I was at Nevada Southern, and he was still in high school, but he was taking a composition course. When TC graduated, he went off to Berkeley. He majored in astrophysics, and he met Phil at the music placement exam. So Phil was living at TC's, and somehow Phil didn't fit in with that household, so TC dropped him off at my house.
Did TC's mum kick him out?
Possibly. That's very possible. It wasn't any of my business, so I never asked.
While you were in Hawaii, Phil was writing back and forth to you with postcards and TC as well.
The thing is, there could be 6 months, between any communication between me and Phil and TC, but, those were memorable. It was like, I got a card from TC, and then this one from Phil.
Wait, do you remember what it said, the one from Phil?
If I read it all, I could write it out. Okay. Greetings to the ambassador plenipotentiary from the land of Zok. All the best for the holy days. I've signed aboard a psychedelic sailing ship as flunky or supercargo and joined a rock and roll band to make a million laughs. Welcome aboard, Phil.
Very cool. And what was the band that he had signed aboard?
That was probably, at that time, was probably the Warlocks.
Was it a million laughs?
At least. At bare minimum.
So you left Hawaii, and then you went up to San Francisco and met up with Phil and saw the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. That was the first time I'd heard psychedelic rock and roll. Then I hooked up with TC. He's in the Air Force, but he's got some leave time. So we take off to go up and see Phil. So we get up there. They have moved to Nevada, and they were doing a legalized marijuana benefit in San Francisco somewhere. Backstage, encounter Owsley. So he's got his little can with his stuff. So he says, you want to get high? And so TC says, yeah. And Owsley says, well, how much you want? And he said, well, give me however much you think I need. And then I say the same. We put out our tongues, and he drops them on the tongues. And that was my first Owsley acid encounter. Other things that we'd do would, go out in the desert at night. TC, he was going into astrophysics. There's this one hill, 15 minutes drive out to where there are no lights around. And getting high, setting up on top of this hill, which Phil called hierarchitip to top to loptical of something. So,
what was the purpose of getting out of the house at night?
To go someplace that, we could do something that was interesting, and, being interested in, the constellations, and to get out and smoke pot where nobody could smell it. In nice weather, you'd sit out there for hours, maybe even till daybreak.
Was it fun?
Absolutely. Where does this road go? I don't know, but it's, as Dylan says, there's bound to be some kind of change. So, then when I came back, it was, getting close to New Year's. So TC and my friend Jesse decided to go to the Valley Fire and bring the New Year's in the right way. So TC had seen Hank Harrison. He'd gone down with a bunch of people to Central South America to sample their psychoactive plants, and he came back with some greenish yellow powder, which he said was ayahuasca with psychotria. And I had some of the Owsley acid that I'd gotten from Phil. So we all decided to make sure we get off, we'd each do both. So we were sitting in the van, I started going through the body shakes, TC also. So then I went out and went up onto this area that was sandy, and then it had a big boulder formation behind it. So I sat down and just to see what condition my condition was in. I looked up and Orion was over my left shoulder and I was facing south. The next thing I knew, the other people that I knew they were beings, that I had come to this place with these beings. My personality was gone. I was just knew I was a being, a consciousness, but I knew that I had to say, okay, take a breath. And so I'd take a breath, and I went through some of what Jung would call archetypes of the unconscious. When I looked up and saw Orion, it was over my right shoulder. Then it came to me, my personality came back. Oh, I'm Bill Walker. He's the one that knows those guys. And so I got up and walked back to the truck. It was cold. It was New Year's Eve. And, all three of us sat in the truck till it, was getting daylight. Our body heat of all of us probably kept us from freezing. So, okay, I told Jesse I'm ready to go to San Francisco. So he drove me up there, and I don't remember how I ended up at the Schrader house. Anyway, I had some money, and I guess I rented it.
So, Bill, you're living in the house with Phil. What was that experience like?
For the most part, it was a lot of fun and incredible for me, the information that he brought to me. I was in love with orchestral music. So for me, it was like my consciousness was just being flooded with new stuff all the time.
Can you tell me a little bit about the painting itself? The blue figure in the center, what does that represent?
It had a number of meanings. The center figure, the beast, for me, it was the place that I had gotten to on that trip, but then became the idea that when the dead, were playing, and when they were all together at their peak, which was transcendent. The beast was symbolic of transcendence, to where you were just an entity, a living life form, and all the other stuff was back there.
And then the heads were the members of the band.
Yeah.
But they're also masks.
Yeah, they're all masks, yeah.
Each serpent bears the mask of a member of the band. They are Leyak daemons from the Balinese mythology. But Bill has always maintained that the snakes are more related to the Yahe that he consumed in the desert.
Of course, I had known Phil for a long time. So when the thing comes up is, okay, his eyeballs are two different colors, and I said, well, Phil always wore different colored socks, He never wore the same color sock on both feet. In the drawing originally, in the center, I put a point which would have been right at the third knot. Once I established that, I had a symmetry. Then I started up at the top, and the flames are in 4 levels. And I thought of that as like a quartet, of instruments. So it was like, I'm playing this piece as it unfolds around, and I found that I could take the pencil, drawing it out, and do, maybe 3 or even 4 inches, on one of the layers, and then switch the pencil and then just do the other side. So I'd then go back and forth until I got the first level and then the second level. Then the serpents being woven in and out of the flames, I just felt they needed to be there. They were also like an instrument, and with their musculature and all the shadings and so forth. I tried to balance it out color-wise and construction-wise as I came around, and then when I got near the bottom from my trip, it was like I could feel energy coming up from the ground. That's the whole Kundalini thing, you feel it going up through your body. That was like coming out of the earth and manifesting in space, I guess.
Been a long, strange trip.
Yes, it has. It ain't over yet, I guess.
In Anthem, Indian deities, South American serpents, American bluegrass, Balinese demons, Western jazz, experimental rock and roll all combine together to create a postmodern icon of rock and roll art.